Democracy has a price tag, and that price is often hidden from view, traded in boardrooms, whispered in private meetings, channeled through invisible networks of power. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented fact. This is the story of how a handful of billionaires redesigned American democracy without ever standing for election. Welcome to TopThangs, dear viewer. Don't forget to comment what other topics you would like to see covered. Let's dive in. The story of dark money in American politics is deeply intertwined with the history of the Koch family. Fred Koch, the patriarch, built his fortune in the oil industry, harboring a deep disdain for government intervention. This belief system, rooted in libertarianism, formed the bedrock of his sons Charles and David's political ideology. They inherited not just their father's wealth, but also his fervent belief in free market principles and a minimal state. Charles and David Koch, fueled by their inherited fortune and ideological conviction, embarked on a mission to reshape American politics. Their goal was to dismantle regulations, slash taxes, and shrink the government's role in society. They understood that achieving such a radical transformation required a long game, a patient and methodical approach to shifting the Overton window. The Koch strategy went beyond traditional lobbying efforts. They invested heavily in building a vast network of think tanks, academic institutions, and media outlets. This network became a breeding ground for free market evangelists, influencing policies that favor corporations over citizens. Central to the Koch's strategy was the creation of an intellectual ecosystem that would legitimize and popularize their libertarian worldview. Their investment in think tanks was not merely about funding research. It was about cultivating a cadre of intellectuals dedicated to advancing their ideological agenda. Institutions like the Cato Institute, the Heritage Foundation, and the American Enterprise Institute became influential voices in policy debates. The Kochs understood the power of academia in shaping young minds and influencing future generations. They poured money into universities, establishing chairs, funding research projects, and creating academic centers dedicated to free market economics. Their efforts to shape public discourse extended to the media landscape as well. They funded conservative media outlets, provided grants to sympathetic journalists, and created their own media platforms. Through these multifaceted efforts, the Kochs built a powerful echo chamber, amplifying their libertarian ideals. This echo chamber played a crucial role in shifting the political landscape to the right. The term dark money refers to political spending that is not subject to public disclosure requirements. It is money spent to influence elections, but the source of the funds remains hidden from public scrutiny. This lack of transparency makes it difficult to track the influence of special interests and hold donors accountable. One of the primary vehicles for dark money are 501(c)(4) organizations, named after a section of the tax code. These organizations are ostensibly formed for social welfare purposes and can engage in limited political activity. However, the rules governing their political spending are notoriously vague and loosely enforced. Another avenue for dark money is through super PACs, political action committees that can raise unlimited sums of money. While super PACs are required to disclose their donors, they can exploit loopholes by channeling money through shell corporations. This lack of transparency creates a breeding ground for corruption, allowing wealthy individuals and corporations to exert undue influence. The insidious impact of dark money extends far beyond direct campaign contributions. The true danger lies in its ability to subtly influence institutions that shape public opinion and policy decisions. Over decades, the Koch network and other wealthy donors have strategically invested in a range of institutions. One of their primary targets has been the judiciary. They have poured money into judicial confirmation battles, supporting judges who share their libertarian worldview. Academia has been another key battleground. By funding research centers, endowing chairs, and supporting academic journals, they have sought to influence the direction of research. The media landscape has also been heavily influenced by dark money. Conservative media outlets, often funded by undisclosed donors, play a crucial role in shaping public opinion. The influence of dark money is not an abstract concern, it has a tangible impact on the lives of ordinary Americans. The policies promoted by these wealthy special interests often come at the expense of working families, marginalized communities, and the environment. One of the most egregious examples is the role of dark money in obstructing action on climate change. Fossil fuel companies have poured millions into funding climate denial research and lobbying against environmental regulations. The consequences of this inaction are already being felt around the world, from more extreme weather events to rising sea levels. Dark money has also played a pernicious role in undermining workers' rights. Anti-union groups, often funded by undisclosed donors, have worked tirelessly to weaken unions and erode labor standards. This has contributed to a decades-long decline in union membership, leaving workers with less bargaining power. The consequences are evident in the growing economic inequality that plagues our society. Dark money has helped to rig the system in favor of the wealthy and powerful. The fight against climate change stands as a stark example of dark money's corrosive impact on democracy. For decades, fossil fuel giants like ExxonMobil and the Koch brothers have poured millions into a sophisticated network of think tanks and front groups. Their strategy has been chillingly effective. By funding bogus research and promoting contrarian scientists, they have created an atmosphere of uncertainty around climate change. This deliberate campaign of disinformation has had real-world consequences. It has stalled progress on climate legislation and hampered international efforts to reduce emissions. As the effects of climate change become increasingly dire, the human cost of this delay will only continue to mount. The climate denial machine is a testament to the power of dark money to distort public discourse. Despite the daunting challenges posed by dark money, there is hope. Across the country, a growing movement is demanding greater transparency in our elections. At the forefront of this fight are organizations dedicated to exposing the flow of dark money. Groups like the Center for Responsive Politics and OpenSecrets.org are meticulously tracking campaign contributions. Their work is essential to shining a light on the hidden machinery of our political system. Without transparency, there can be no accountability. When donors can hide behind a veil of secrecy, it creates a breeding ground for corruption. But the fight for transparency cannot be won by watchdog groups alone. Citizens must demand that their elected officials prioritize campaign finance reform. The fight against dark money is not just about campaign finance reform, it is about reclaiming our democracy. To achieve this, we need a multi-pronged approach that addresses the systemic issues that allow dark money to flourish. One crucial step is to overturn the Supreme Court's decision in. This ruling effectively granted corporations the same free speech rights as individuals. Another important reform is to require full disclosure of all political spending. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, and exposing the sources of this funding will make it much harder for special interests to operate in the shadows. Beyond legislative reforms, we also need to empower small donors and amplify the voices of ordinary citizens. This can be achieved through public financing systems that match small donations with public funds. The fight against dark money is a fight for the soul of our democracy. It is a fight to ensure that government serves the interests of the many, not the few. The time for complacency is over. We must demand better of our elected officials and hold those who benefit from dark money accountable. Here are some concrete steps you can take to join the fight. Support organizations working to expose dark money. Contact your elected officials and urge them to prioritize campaign finance reform. Educate yourself and others about the influence of dark money in politics. Get involved in grassroots organizing and advocacy efforts. Vote for candidates who support campaign finance reform and pledge to reject corporate PAC money. By working together, we can reclaim our democracy and create a system that truly represents the will of the people. The machinery of dark money didn't appear overnight. It was built piece by piece, decision by decision. And if it was built, it can also be dismantled. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires vigilance, understanding, and most importantly, action. Every voice matters. Every vote counts. Every citizen has the power to challenge the system. The story of dark money is not over. And you, yes, you are now part of its next chapter. Thank you for watching Top Thangs. Let us know what you want to see next in the comments.